Shortcuts are a great way to increase your productivity when you notice that you're selecting the same commands over and over throughout the day. Now, when I select one of these menu items, we can see that the shortcuts are listed next to the menu items. And a lot of menu items have them, but not all of them do. And let's just decipher them for a moment. This icon here is the Command key on Mac or the Control key on Windows. This is the Option key on Mac or the Alt key on Windows. And here, this upward pointing arrow is going to be the Shift key on both Mac and Windows. So for example, if I want to open a new blank document, then I can just use Command-N on Mac or Control-N on Windows. But not every command or every tool has a shortcut. And there's two commands that I use all the time when I'm working with multiple images. And that is to consolidate to tabs and to tile so that I can see both images at one time. But I don't always want to go to the window menu, choose Arrange, and then find those two options right here. So instead, I'm going to add a custom keyboard shortcut to them. And I do that by going to the Edit menu, scrolling down, and selecting Keyboard Shortcuts. You can see that I can apply or add custom keyboard shortcuts for the application menus, which are the ones across the top. I also have the option for panel menus. Those are the ones that are going to fly out from the panels, as well as tools and task spaces. So let's start with application menus. I want to scroll down and look for the window menu, and then I'll use the disclosure triangle in order to see all of the different menu items that are listed underneath there. So these are the two that I'm looking for, the Consolidate All to Tabs and to Tile. So in order to add a custom keyboard shortcut, I just click here in the blank area underneath where it says Shortcut, and then I type in whatever shortcut I want to use. So in this case, I'm going to use Command-Shift-T. But when I type that in, Photoshop is warning me that that keyboard shortcut is already in use. And in order to use it to tile, it's going to remove it from Edit Transform again. So you just need to find a shortcut that you don't use very often. And I don't use this shortcut very often for Free Transform again, so I'm okay with replacing it. So I'll click Accept. Now I'm going to add one to Consolidate All to Tabs. So again, I will click in this area here and then just type in the shortcut. And I did use two keyboard modifiers, right? I use Shift and Command here because I find that if you just use one modifier like Command-T, well, most of those are used by more common functions. So I'm kind of looking for a more obscure shortcut so that it won't replace something that I use all the time. So in this case, I'll use Command-Shift-R, and that's going to be removed from Filter Lens Correction, which is just fine. And the reason I pick these two is because they're next to each other on the keyboard, right? Command-Shift-R and Command-Shift-T. And I go back and forth between them all the time, so it's handy for me. I won't have to look at the keyboard necessarily while I'm going back and forth. All right, so I'll click Accept. And if I wanted to, I could click on the Save icon right here in order to save this as a set of keyboard shortcuts. That way I could save perhaps one set of keyboard shortcuts for painting and another one for working with photographs. That's totally up to you. For now, I just want to show you a few of the other options under the Tools area, because we did just see a video on editing the toolbar, but I wanted to point out that you have additional options here. So not only can I assign my custom keyboard shortcut to the tools, but if we scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll notice that there are some additional options down here. For example, if I wanted to assign a keyboard shortcut to show the foreground color picker, I can click in the empty area here and then just type in a letter. So in this case, I don't need a keyboard modifier. In fact, it won't let me have a keyboard modifier. So I'll just tap the N key. And you can tap it in lowercase or uppercase. It doesn't matter. It's going to just assign N. It really doesn't matter the case here. All right, so I'll go ahead and accept that as well. And then the final thing that we can assign custom keyboard shortcuts for are our task spaces. These are kind of a unique workspace that you would go into, for example, when you're trying to use the Select and Mask feature or the Content Aware fill. Now, because I think the shortcuts that we entered are so helpful, and because I'm going to be using those commands throughout the course, I'm going to go ahead and keep them by clicking OK. And if we return to Window and then Arrange, we can see those custom keyboard shortcuts that I assigned. And if I just tap the N key, it will bring up the foreground color picker for me so that I don't have to continuously go down to the lower left of the screen in order to click that in order to bring it up. So although creating custom keyboard shortcuts might seem like a minor thing, especially when you're first starting to learn Photoshop, but as you become more advanced, you're really going to want to access your tools and your menu items more quickly, and customizing your shortcuts is one of the most productive ways to do that.